Hello everyone, welcome back to Analogue, a hate story. I'm your host DeoGenZ, and last we left off we were reading some log files in Block 2 that were pretty intense. Moving on to Unsent Letter 4 from Hana. You know what the first thing they teach you about this role is? Of course you do. I told you all about it. The first thing they teach you is to never fall in love. Nobody'd ever actually say, make sure you're in control, but that's the only way it'll ever work. Well, I'm supposed to be the one making people fall for me. Love is for men stupid enough to buy me out from the Emperor, not for me personally. I know exactly how you managed to do it, but So Jin, you got me all the same. You know, they teach us poetry because if you appeal to men's vanity and seem a little bit clever, it's a good way to hold on to them, get them to keep playing. With the flattering kind, sincerity never really factors too much. An abandoned line from the one I've been trying to write for you. You grab my heart just as tightly as you grab my breast. Too trite. Way too trite. But it's true. But I'm not going to dump such a lousy metaphor on you. For you, you absolutely deserve sincerity. It has nothing to do with vanity and everything to do with the fact that I really do totally love you. It's not sexual. I mean, it is sexual too. I still get hot thinking of how you had your way with me and how I want to return the favor. But it's not just that. It's that you understand me, that you listen to me. I can pour my heart out in front of you, I can cry in front of you, and you get it. You don't feel bad, you don't feel pity, you don't use it as an excuse to manhandle me. You just get it, and comfort me by being there and listening. I love you, So Jin. I'm not supposed to, but I really do. Let's see what Mute thinks about that. Oh, I love you. Wow. Just wow. You know, I kind of feel pity for her. She probably really did think that actually was love. Which is just, come on, how uneducated can you be? Anyway, I guess you want to see more now, right? That's really just the shocking details you've seen so far. Here's the part where things get actually scandalous. I've added 3 more entries. Well, if that's what Mute, I was about to say Muse, but if that's what Mute thinks is not scandalous, let's go on to the 3 entries and this poem, My Art, that was written by Hana. My art is that of lies and lying, and of both I have much practice. I botched that whole thing, let's redo that. My art is that of lies and lying, and of both I have much practice. I've said to men, I love you falsely. I've suffered pain, but smiled in pleasure. But the hardest lie I've ever told was that I could live without you. So that's for So Jin. Man, how's that for a verse? Really, it's not the translation, I assure you. It's not exactly any better in the original Korean. Can you believe that was actually written by someone who had studied poetry for years? Seriously? Maybe not, for what it is. Maybe you might find it successful at being arousing. That's fair enough. But with all due respect, I don't think that's really enough to make a good poem. I don't know much about the subject, but I mean, come on. There's a reason why men's poetry is what gets studied and taught, and women's poetry is just used for seduction. You need real sincerity. You need someone who actually understands love. It's titillating, sure, but it's crap. Anyway, though I guess you want to see the other poem that whore wrote for her. Right, of course, here, have it. If you found the last one arousing, well, it's not any good, but I'm sure you'll be entertained at least. Sorry, I can't at least give you one that was meant for a man, though. That's all the whore's poetry for So Jin. She didn't seem to write down the ones she did for anyone else, so that's all you can get. Yes, because for the most part, women's writing was erased. It's quite amazing that all these letters are still preserved. Okay, so the unsent letter 5 from So Jin. It was only after I finally started to become comfortable with you, confident that you really were mine and that I didn't have to work to impress you, that things got complicated. My husband had left for the day and you were still lingering, having spent the night with him. But it was for me that you had a new love poem, and I undressed you while you sang it. When you were done, you clung to me, stripping me in turn, while I simply kissed you and ran my hands from your tiny waist to your smooth ankles, and soon enough we were both naked. At first I had felt so uncomfortable exposing my body like that to you, as if you'd see it then finally realize how old I am. But you never did seem to mind, not as you placed soft kisses on my breast, nor as you straddled me with your legs around my waist and arms around my neck. So entranced was I at that moment that I never heard the footsteps outside. We had just started to kiss when the door suddenly opened. What a scene to walk into. There my husband was. In the doorway, his courtesan and wife naked together, mouths still connected by a strand. For a moment, nobody said anything. In that time, I felt terror as never before in my life. Sang-min is not a gentleman, and while he hardly ever raised his hand to me, I was still overwhelmed with horror that he might hurt me, or even worse, that he would hurt you. I had seduced you, but in that moment I realized if he did try, there was nothing I could do to protect you. But just as we were stammering our "I'm sorry, sirs," he just laughed and laughed. "Well," he said, oogling us with that cold stare of his, "I'm certainly paying for you enough for two." Then he walked over and raised his hand, and I stared in terror. But all he did was pat you on the head, as though you were a child. "I don't know what she told you, but you don't have to pay any attention to her. Easier to just ignore her, really." All you could do was start to stammer. I wanted to. We were both so afraid, but he just laughed and shrugged. "Whatever," he said, as he passed through the other door. Neither of us knew what to do, other than climb off each other and scramble to cover ourselves back up. While we both clumsily tried to dress ourselves, Sang-min walked back through the room once more, carrying a satchel. He'd forgotten it for work, I suppose. "Don't have to stop on my account. If you ask permission, you can do whatever the hell you want," he said. Then he laughed again. "Don't know what you think you're even going to do. Though, aren't you two missing something?" I wish he had struck me instead. It would have hurt me far less than what he said, or what you had to watch me do. Just imagine that scene. Her and the whore pleading with her husband, being mocked like that. What do you make of that? I know, right? I mean, really, what an awful, pitiful scene. Well, I don't know if I would necessarily call it pitiful, but there was no other option. It's not. I'm not saying he didn't have the right to say those things. Of course he did. That is his prerogative. And sure, she was a bad wife. But still, even if he had the right, that is a shitty way to treat her. He should have been a better man than that. Just really, what a pathetic scene. Just absolutely pathetic. He should have been ashamed, not laughing. Just no sense of shame. I'm glad you think so too. Anyway, I'll let you get back to reading. Oh, man, what could the next letter be? Oh, probably a response from Hana. It's weird, all these letters, I guess they've never been sent, but it almost seems like they're responses to each other. But they were just in the simultaneously timed of writing, one after another. And thanks to our AI program, they're all organized. So from Hana, the unsent letter 6. It's so unfair. Why couldn't you have been born a man instead? Sure, you'd lose your beauty and the gentleness I love about you, but at least you'd be able to do something, and Sang-min would be jealous instead of thinking of you as completely unthreatening. I just know you want to be able to stand up for me, and it's killing me to see that you're powerless too. Right now, he's happy to keep me around. You know, it gets him off to have something to hold over my head. I had no idea you were so lustful, that you'd even settle for a woman, he says. What's that like? The worst part? I know that the only way to keep seeing you is to play along. Oh well, you know, for a girl my age, I respond, and press my hands against my face to look like I'm embarrassed. It's just playing. It's not the same without you, you know. I trail off because he thinks it's so cute when I'm too ashamed to say the word cock. Poor girl, he says as he roughly gropes me, and I force out all those soft moans and gasps to make him think that he's really making me happy, and I say awful things. Love. I say such awful things about you, it kills me. It just kills me. And then I beg just to see more of you. I don't know what leaves a worse taste in my mouth, him or those words. What else can I do? I'm sorry, So Jin. I know the last time I talked with you, all I did was cry. Thanks for not asking. It was just so hard to hold it all in while smiling cutely for your husband. We have the worst fate ever, don't we? Oof. What an ugly love triangle to be in. Well, yeah. I guess you probably also find that sort of thing cute, right? It's okay, I guess. That's why a smart man stays the hell away from whores. Deception is just what they do. Well, that's women in general, I guess, now that I think of it. Still, I bet if he'd read what she'd written there, he'd never have wanted to sleep with her. Anyway, I'll let you get back to reading. There's more? Ugh. This just gets worse and worse. Oh, we never read the other poem. This just keeps getting more dark every log we go into. Pretty flower, written by Hana. Pretty flower, who could plant you, then abandon you in your bed? Each day I stop to admire your aroma, will your gardener mind? Each night I pluck my own petals, but dream of yours in bloom. Man, how's that for a verse? Really, it's not that translation. Okay, are you going to say the same thing that you said before? Yes, you are. Okay, no extra dialogue with mute. Let's get to the last letter sent. From So Jin. Let's see what the dreadful conclusion of this all is. The unsent letter 7. Let's see if she reacts to his husband. Her husband. His husband. Wow. The last time we spoke, I poured wine for you rather than the usual tea. It seemed as though you needed it. I held you tight while you drank, petting your hair and wiping every tear to drop from those deep, sad eyes. He's going to get bored eventually, you had said, and though I tried to comfort you, we both knew it to be true. I could try pressuring him to buy you, I had offered. It was our only option, really. If he didn't, you'd simply return to the service of the government, to be rented out to who knows who, and we would never meet again. Thanks, you said. Do you think he'll listen? You asked. I wish nothing more than to be able to lie to you, to say that, of course, I did, that it would be all right. No, I said, I couldn't. We sat for a long time in silence. Finally, I said, even that would be worse than you deserve. He owns me, and see how I'm treated. I wish you could have far better. Sorry, you said. Please, please don't be. All of this is my fault. If I had just been a good wife and left well alone, all this heartbreak could have been avoided, I said, trying to calm you. But you only cried more. When you had no more tears left, you spoke again. What about the other courtesan he bought? The real mother of Min-hee? What if you blackmailed him? If only. I would do it gladly for you, but the royal family knows already. I shot off my mouth in front of Mute once, without thinking, and soon enough, it was my own fault too. Oh, you said. What if I gave him a son, you suggested? Even though I knew how appalling the thought was to you, and I couldn't help but laugh when I thought of why it would never work. Oh, Hana, I said. Do you think the reason I've never gotten pregnant was for a lack of trying? I stroked your cheek. And in the months you've been with him, has your period been disrupted even once? No, you said, as you realized what I was saying. It would never work. As tears fell from your eyes once more, you started to laugh too. I figured it was just, all chance. I shook my head. No child in the first year of marriage, that is a chance, I said, laughing sadly. Whether he is too proud or too stupid to realize, I know not. But one child in 11 years of marriage? This is not chance. That is an impotent man raising someone else's daughter. You looked at me, realizing the plan was doomed. There aren't any real men in this house, are there? You said finally. We laughed and laughed, your future so sadly uncertain. Wow. So the dumbass shoots blanks, and he ended up pawning off with some courtesan's daughter. Wow. That's it's a different option than abortion, I suppose. Well, there you have it. That's it for the scandalous and sordid story of the noble wife, So Jin, and her husband's whore. I keep going back and forth on how to feel about the whole thing. On one hand, I feel pretty bad for So Jin. It should have never had to sink to that for her. On the other hand, well, it's not like she didn't still make her decisions for herself. It'd be wrong to just cover it up, right? I respect her, but at the end of the day, she still did do unspeakable things with a whore. I'm just kind of conflicted, especially now that she's long gone. Well, anyway, so what do you think of all that? I know, right? No matter how you look at it, that's true for sure. Watching a good woman fall like that, well, you get the idea, I'm sure. Anyway, that's all what I wanted you to keep in mind. Stories like that, even the messed up ones. There's a reason why the last one dates to the year 322. Idiot. It's not that their affair came to a conclusion, it's that they just both died. So, yeah. Even if it is one hell of a story, it's one that ended completely abruptly. Just remember that, alright? Yes, it did end completely abruptly, and we can still show this message to her. That was just her notification. I'm sympathetic to her and all, I really am, but look, I still had to tell my mistress all about it. I couldn't just hide that. And frankly, I don't think she should have been gossiping about it, not least of all to a whore. Doing unspeakable things to her, well, that's messed up, but it only affects herself. But telling the whore about her husband's failings, that's just reckless. That could harm the whole family. Well, not that the family needed any help cementing its ruin at that point, but it's the principle of the thing. It's still wrong. Anyway, I'll let you get back to reading. Well, that is as what Terence McKenna described as culture being a poison. Because of the culture of the Magungwa fleet here, and the noble families striving for power and always this patriarchal system, their love could never be recognized, and they were torn in a world ruled by men. So that's a very interesting thing. That's the culture of it all. the fact that they couldn't stand up and disunite from them. That's very similar in American culture to how we see older couples, even though they bicker, fight, and hate each other all the time, staying together because that is the culturistic ties of marriage. Interesting things to think about. If you want to check out more on Terence McKenna, you can go to the Psychedelic Salon, Google it, or go to matrixmasters.net. Alright, I'm going to get a cup of water because I have cotton mouth, and I will see you guys in the next episode.